David, my question to you is, where is the vulnerability? Why is Gina Raimondo concerned not just about TikTok, but other Chinese apps as well?
We've seen for years that China has created one of the largest surveillance states, not only in its own people, but just globally tracking U.S. personnel for espionage purposes, cyber warfare. They're one of our peer competitors on the cyberspace. They're the largest country for intellectual property theft, yielding trillions of dollars of intellectual property theft per year from China. And they don't play by any type of rules whatsoever. And the big issue that you run into, and I think what the big contrast is from social media companies here in the United States versus something like China, is that they control the content that is delivered to the endpoints or the phone or the device that is looking at TikTok, as well as the information that is collected that could then be used by the government itself. And that's government employees, locations, information about specific individuals that they're trying to pull or pull any type of data or information on. They use this as another source of many other sources that they centrally use, and they're one of the best when it comes to large big data analytics and what they're dealing with tracking people all across the world. Right. It's a major problem and it's a major concern, especially from China.
David, you are a hacker, but the friendly kind of hacker, as I understand it. What I don't understand is this a sort of systems vulnerability, or is this an issue of who has access to data?
It's a combination of both, actually. So if you look at ByteDance, which is the subsidiary company that is out of Beijing specifically, they control the code that goes into the devices. Now Apple, for example, has a pretty stringent policy around inspecting source code and things like that. Google a little bit more on the open side, but the collection of the data aspect and where that data goes to is the most concerning part about it. Could they introduce code that could eavesdrop on U.S. citizens? Absolutely. But the main concern is the amount of information that they're pulling back, collecting, and then using that information to go against, key personnel that they would look to target, or individuals or people that are of interest to the Chinese government, scientists, medical research, DoD contractors that specifically focus on, next generation research of weapon systems, missile defense systems, those types of things, as well as their ability to control content that goes to individuals. So obviously, you hear the term misinformation quite a bit, but I think what's most important to understand is that, they can start to home in and focus content on individuals and really change their perception of what's actually occurring in reality. And, we live through our devices nowadays and, live through TikTok, live through, Facebook and Twitter and through various online news sources. So what is presented to us as content is typically our worldview on what's actually happening out there. So can you curb, public opinion based on the content that's coming out of TikTok? And that's absolutely possible.
Gina Raimondo, of course, coming from the administration, there has been much talk of the administration doing something about TikTok, maybe WeChat, Alipay, some of the others as well, but dragging their heels. And so states have started to step in, or individual institutions, particularly in the education side of things. Is that the right way to deal with this?
The outright of banning of TikTok is an interesting, and other Chinese-owned companies is an interesting dilemma. I think, what just recently happened with banning it within government employees is a solid one. We removed Huawei from being able to be purchased here in the United States, specifically on military bases and installation. Can't have hardware in those facilities, which is a Chinese-based company. And there's been direct intelligence that have shown Huawei has worked on behalf of the Chinese government for intellectual property theft in other areas. The interesting part is, does the federal government play a role in what the U.S. Citizens can and cannot do? And I think that's a pretty large discussion, heavy discussion to have. They've largely stayed away from that. And I think you're looking at states kind of looking at, well, personal information is really important. It's not just TikTok, for example. I mean, social security numbers, your personal data that's stored within corporations. The EU does this very well with protecting personal information. So, I think states are looking at this and saying, well, can we look at this as a personal information issue, a privacy issue, and can we put controls in place that hold, that holds ByteDance specifically accountable for where that data is stored and how it's protected, not necessarily banning it. I think that's probably a better measured approach to say, this data has to stay here.